21st century fox. Okay. Long overdue. Had them for a while. Couldn't get them comfortable. Then very recently, Deconi sent me a sampler of all their stuff. And they sent me these, which are the ETZ Mercury LGs. Yes. Which are just tips. Okay, they come with tips. And the M300s, and we're doing the M300s. And now let's talk about them. So, I don't want to have to bring up Monoprice stealing shit. Because they don't, always. Not always. But they really need to get their timing worked out better, because it's sort of like... obviously it's not stealing because it's the exact... I mean, like, holy fuck. To the thickness of it, to every... like, oh. The only thing I will say is that where the eye signs have a very gentle magnetic force between them, like you could barely pick that one up. And these are the 20s, by the way. These, super strong, like, boom, just stick them to metal. So that means the magnets in them are at least different than the eye signs, or the shielding of them is, or they're closer to the outside, because these will stick together like, pretty goddamn solidly. Packaging, let's open the packaging up. So here's the eye sign package. You flip this open. It's got this thing, which I was confused about in the review. And the way this works, this little notch here, is you drop the IEHs in your headphones in here, come through this notch, and wrap the wire around, drop the wire in here, close it, magnets, good. That's not the stock cable on there, by the way. That's an Ursine balance cable. Let's look at what this comes with. Oh, Monoprice. Change it up a bit. Cardboard with different tips. None of these tips worked for me. I couldn't get uncomfortable with any of these rubber tips. And they're just single section rubber tips. I will link to the goddamn Deconis. These are so much better. And they fit over it too. It's a rubberized like wall that you can just stretch over the actual dome. And now they fit great. So here's the case it comes with, right? Looks very similar to the Audazie's case. Although this is, I think it's fake. It's definitely fake leather. Almost doesn't feel like fake leather, honestly. If it's real leather, then it's the cheapest real leather. But if it's not, it's really fake. Understand? Good. Here's the problem with this case, because we got to start from day one. So here's your case, and you got to put your... let's just assume that was off the wire to begin with. You got to put this in there, and there's no real way to get them to fit. They don't fit. They don't fit in the case unless you bulge the case and then let it crush it a bit. And now they fit. But the lid doesn't close. This is bad engineering. Like you give it, look, it is a gorgeous case. Does it fit the eyes? No, it doesn't fit that. This is like, if this was my wallet, if someone pulled this out and this was their wallet, I'd be super impressed by this. It's got a decently soft felt, and I can't tell it's not real leather, but it's definitely, it can't be for $150 for the pair. But the fucking things don't fit. Why you no fit? And then you gotta like mess it up to get it to even fit. And then she no close. So this is useless. Moving on. The hooks around the ears. Now, the eye signs here, and you can't see because they're under here. These clips clip on and then they rotate very little. There's a stop that prevents it from going beyond like a full rotation. Nothing on here that prevents that, so you can just spin this thing infinitely. Also, and I'm pretty sure they fixed it, but the black ones, because it came with black and clear, just exactly like the eye signs. The black ones all snapped when I put them on. And he said they fixed that. Don't worry about it. It's got those in-ear clips that I just talked about. I'll link the eye sign review in the description. Just basically watch that. and then come back here to finish this. The little ear clips, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. A little, I mean, look, it's half the price, less than half the price. The iSign 10s right now on Amazon, $350 without the lightning cable, $400 with the lightning cable, which, by the way, I'll have to bring that back up. In fact, Bobby should cover it now in the early part of this review. I've tried the iSigns with the lightning cable. They sound better because it's throwing a crazy equalization adjustment. And I mean crazy. 7 decibels down, 6 decibels up, 6 decibels down. It's like this would not work in any other headphone. But if you apply that EQ, if you have something like this that has an equalizer that you can open up and adjust, I'll link the little screenshot that shows the numbers. And just try it. If you have iSign 10s or 20s and you're not using the Apple Lightning cable, you have an equalizer, give it a shot. Because you're going to look at it and go, this is going to sound horrible. And it doesn't. And it actually improves the iSigns. How do these sound, Zeos? Not as good as the iSign 10s. But back the fuck up. Don't back up. These were such a revolutionary design that it was like, I'm walking around with really good planar open headphones, and they're portable, and I love them. But guess what these are? Still planar, still open, still headphones. But those are Audizies, and these are Monoprice. So you get that sort of like, are you walking around with LCD-Xs, or are you walking around with M1060s or M560s? M1060s and M560s are still very good planars. They're not all Audisi LCD-Xs, and therefore the M300s are still very good planars. But they're not iSign Audisies. Odyssey? You want me to say Odyssey? I won't say it. They're not paying me any money. I don't call them by their proper name. I call them how I see it. So basically what I'm saying is, these are still in a different class than just IAMs. And $150, which is what these cost. I'll see if they're on Amazon. I know they're on Massdrop. I know they're on Monoprice. Those two sites ruin my brain. I still think for $150, if you picked up 30 IAMs, just straight up IAMs, from all the reputable brands, and you put them in, and then you put in these, I'd say half of you would still prefer these. Just because of how different and open and wide they sound. It's a sound you cannot get from an IAM. The only one I got it from was $500 a pair from AudioFly. And now I've got the even more expensive one that's just more neutral in that. So these are still going to be recommended. Yes, they're ripping off Audisi. Blatantly. Yes, there's some quirks. Like, the case is irrelevant. Oh, and the wire. This wire that I'm plugged into here, going to the balanced output on the Feel player, is actually from the Feel IAMs, because it uses the MCX connector. And I've been using it pretty much constantly to test these, because the wire that they come with is the fucking wire from the original M1060s, this thick, massive thing. So let's hook it up. So, and you have to be real careful when you take them off. I almost prefer that they rotate, because that means you get to put it over your ear and then twist this till the socket hits. I hate when people beep in my reviews. So there's right. There's left. Now, you're lucky because they come out in the bottom, and you could probably find a shit ton of wires with this. The iSigns use that little 2-prong system, not as universal. And I'm just going to lean this back, go in. With these tips, you do not have to roll them like you do with Complies, where you shrink them down and put them in, they expand. These are just a very soft, just fast rubber. It's like a rubber, as opposed to a foam rubber. These feel more like a speaker surround, like a modern speaker surround, than an old school speaker surround. I don't know if that makes sense to you. It only has to make sense to me. Okay, so now they're in with this thing. And it's not uncomfortable, but it's heavy. Why are you on? Now I'm using the IFI IDSD Nano in the IM match, And it's a little bit dull. It's just, it's dulled out. I'm only at half. The IM match side of this DAC amp is meant for very low impedance IMs. And these are not that. So I'm going to take the hell out of there and plug it into direct. There it goes. Now it wakes up. Because keep in mind, these are planar. Even though they're tiny, even though they're that big, and they're exactly that big because they're a fucking clone, even though they're exactly that big, they could still use a bit of power on the go. AC/DC, no. Gary Clark Jr., numb. Do I have live from KEXP? I don't know. Regardless of them having not as much detail as the iSigns, they still have soundstage. And regardless of them having a little bit sloppier bass, just a little bit, it's a little bit sloppier, they still have bass, planar bass. And it took me a while of wearing them before I actually got comfortable with the sound. Billy Joel, Miss Saigon, Goodbye Saigon, Last Play at Shea. And it's a thing to behold. And if you've never heard iSigns and you get these, you'll be fucking impressed right this moment. I know if I put these on, and these are the 20s and not the 10s, if I put those on, I would sit here drooling like an idiot. I was going to say invalid, but then I said, nah, that's too insensitive. We'll go idiot. And then I corrected myself live, which is what Zeos does. With piano. Basically, in the world of on-ear planar headphones, which is what those are, in-ear planar headphones, there are there are three. Freudian slip, maybe? There are three. The iSign 10s, the iSign 20s, and the M300s. I'm sure there's another one out there. Oh, there's also the iSign 4s, ILCDs, the ones that are $2,500 a pair. I've not heard them. I kind of don't want to hear them. I worry that I would hear those and never respect anything else. So we're just going to leave those be. So in the world of IEHs that are affordable, and I'm going to consider $600, $400, and $150 the range, because that's all there is. And don't ask me about the stacks in-ear electrostats. Those will come eventually. I'm in no rush. It's not happening. These are the worst of the three. But that's like saying it's the worst of the currently on sale Lamborghinis. It's still not going to be a Camry. It's never going to be a Toyota Camry. Even if it's just a little bit more dull and a little bit more wah, wah, wah. Some echoing I hear. It's still a planar headphone doing that, which is like a step above everything else. So yeah, if you have $300-$400 IEMs, these probably won't impress you. If you're currently using $60-$70 IEMs, and you're thinking about doubling your budget to $150-$160, consider these. Pick them up. Get the tips. You have to get these tips. Do not bother with these stock tips. They're just don't fit. They don't even get small. And it's a weird thing because I'm usually, I have huge ears. I need one bigger one. And I'm using the smallest tips and they're still too big. It was just so hard to get them to fit. And the only part that hurts my ear, you can see here on the iSign, is I put this piece of speaker surround foam on the back side. Because where this clips against, it holds pressure on the inside of your ear and the outside of your ear, and it squeezes it. So I don't mind on this part because it's nice and thin. But this is a big square box. And the human ear is not a big square box. As much as Andromeda wants you to think it's a big square, it's not. So I might recommend doing the same mod. I haven't worn these the sort of length that I wore these when I was testing them. These have been in and out. An hour here, 40 minutes there. And you take them out and you feel your ear is like, oh, it's fucking got a thing. I wish I didn't have a thing. So you can fix that easy enough with just a piece of either rubber tape or foam tape. But get these. And get these over the Complies for now. Get these in combination with the Complies. I love Compli tips. I like when you twist them in, you put them in, they expand slowly, and but sometimes I just want to get these things in and out. Now, the only other thing that's going to compete with this or this, and it's coming up, and it's going to be hilarious, and I'm going to link it in the description, even though I haven't shown them here, KSC 75s. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. As far as like clip over your ear, like, ooh, I want soundstage, and I want decent. Wait. Just wait for those. If you want to spend $150 on an IM that isn't an IM, it's an IEH, it's planar, here you go. They don't need that much power that you have to worry about, like, oh, I gotta buy a fucking FIO, or I gotta have the IFI attached to my phone. It will work on most devices just fine. But if you want to push it that little extra bit, something like this, recommended. As far as balance go versus the single-ended that it came with, not as big a difference as I thought there'd be. Same with this. There wasn't as big a difference when I went this balanced versus this single-ended. I think they're just so wide in soundstage by default. Like, usually that's the thing I notice. HD 600s really benefit from balance. They sound wider. They sound more separated. These and those are already like this wide. So even if they get that wide, I didn't notice it. Sorry. So yes, M300s. The cable's too thick. The case doesn't work. The tips suck. These little things spin around. They might break. If I pulled this and it might just break. I'm really trying not to. I want it to last. These will probably end up. In fact, I'm calling it, friendo. These will definitely end up in a yard sale because I have my iSigns and I don't need these and those. And if another version of this comes out, they're just going to send it to me, or I'm going to buy it anyway. And I don't need to compare. I've put down my thoughts. I'd love to be able to do a sound demo to show it off, but I can't figure out how to get the little mic into the... Yeah. So, I approve of the attempt, Monoprice. You could have done a little bit better job in hiding that. I mean, there's only so many ways you could design an in-ear headphone. So I'll give you a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but then you're like, everything is the same, bro. Another thing I didn't like and was part of the reason it didn't fit comfortably is you could see the iSigns got way more of a rake angle on the tip. It actually goes over and up, where this is just a little bit over, and the bigger tips take care of that as far as fitting. They don't stick out as far on these. They're shorter, and they don't quite angle as far. They're just... So, some comfort issues, but I mean, they're still usable. For $150, if you got the money and you want to try something different, this is different. That's a stretch to try something different. Like $350 to try something different that's a chunk of money. But $150, that's Monoprice amounts of money. You just go there and say, let's try that, see how that works. And I'll see if I could find if FIO sells this balance cable. Not for the balance aspect, just because, look, it's an actual IM cable that doesn't look like I could lift myself up with it. I'm not saying I want dainty cables, but I don't want to have a rope draped over me all the goddamn time. Better pick that stuff up off the floor then if I'm selling these. So, that's what I got. You don't like what I had to say? Go cry to your mama about it. Wallpaper in the description. Links to these and those and maybe this and kind of that and maybe a wire and whatever else. And Earthsign probably wants a link for cable. That cable's sweet. In the description. The Patreon, which will see this video weeks early and allow them to buy all of these so that the public doesn't get a hold of any of them. And where I answer all your questions because you're paying me. And where the yard sales happen, where you get to bid on this. No starting bid. I pay shipping continental United States. We'll ship international. Once a month it happens. There you go. You want more reasons to join the Patreon and support this channel? I mean, I need just more fucking tables. More tables and space, so that might come eventually. Thanks for watching.